What are you doing, Mitchell? Do you think she'll ever find out? Isn't this exciting? That voice. My heart faltered at the sound of it. I had come home early, feeling uneasy for reasons I couldn't explain. Now, standing in the hallway, I could hear laughter and clinking glasses coming from the living room. Cautiously stepping forward, I peeked through the slightly ajar door. My husband Mitchell, my best friend Natalie, and my mother Donna were all sitting there, a half-empty bottle of wine on the table, surrounded by an aura of infectious joy. Mitchell's arm was around Natalie, and my mother was sitting so close to him, their knees almost touching. What's so funny? I stepped into the room, my voice heavier than I intended. The laughter died. They looked at me, stunned, eyes wide with guilt. Donna was the first to speak, masking her surprise with a too-bright smile. "Casey, you're home early. We were just catching up." "Obviously," I said, my eyes narrowing. "What's the occasion?" Natalie, twirling the wineglass, tried to play it off. "Just a casual get-together. We've been missing you." I scrutinized their expressions, the forced ease and underlying tension. My stomach churned. Missing me? Since when? Mitchell rose from the couch, walking towards me with an easy smile that no longer reassured me. "Hey, babe, you okay? You look pale." Ignoring his concern, I focused on their little setup. "So, what's this intimate gathering about? Something you wanted to share?" Donna set her glass down, her hand trembling slightly. "You're reading too much into it, darling. Relax." I was anything but relaxed. I crossed my arms, leaning against the doorframe. "Really? Because from here it looks like a private party I wasn't invited to." A flicker of something, guilt, perhaps, flashed in Mitchell's eyes, but he quickly smothered it with a laugh. "Casey, come on, it's not like that. We just needed to unwind a bit." Natalie nodded, but her agreement felt hollow, like an echo in a vast, empty space. "Yeah, we just needed a break, you know? Everything's been stressful for everyone." I looked at my husband, my best friend, and my mother, feeling the walls closing in, the air heavy with deceit. "Of course," I said, though I didn't believe a word. I stood there, feeling shattered but determined not to expose my hurt. "Well, don't let me interrupt your good time." I turned and walked away, my steps determined, my fists clenched tight. In the quiet of the hallway, their laughter resumed. But it sounded different now, forced, like a brittle shell hiding the rot beneath. I'd witnessed enough to know something was terribly wrong. Beneath my calm exterior, the reality of their betrayal burned, each laugh and every whisper like a blade slicing through my skin. In that moment, I knew. This was just the beginning. I had to uncover the full extent of their deception. The laughter sounded different now. It haunted me as I climbed the stairs, each step feeling like I was dragging a boulder. I pushed open the door to my bedroom and collapsed onto the bed, staring at the ceiling, trying to piece together the fragments of my unraveling life. A flood of memories hit me. Growing up, it was just Mom and me. We were so close. Even now, her betrayal stung like a fresh wound. I remembered how she would hold my hand, telling me everything would be okay when things were tough. All lies now. Pushing the painful thoughts aside, I focused on my career. It had always been my escape, the one place where I felt in control. I'd worked hard for years, climbing the corporate ladder. All the late nights, the missed family dinners. Mitchell had supported me through it all, or so I thought. Now it seemed like it had given him time to form his twisted trinity. A faint knock on the door pulled me back to reality. "Casey, can we talk?" Mitchell's voice was on the other side. I clenched my teeth, forcing myself to stay calm. I opened the door. "What do you want?" He looked uncomfortable, scratching the back of his neck. "I noticed you weren't yourself downstairs. Are you okay?" "I don't know, Mitchell. You tell me." My voice was cold, distant. He stepped closer, reaching out, but I stepped back. "Casey, please, you're overreacting. Nothing's going on." "Overreacting?" The word bounced around in my head. "Is that how you see it? Just friends hanging out, right?" He sighed, frustration creeping into his tone. "Yes, that's all it is. You're making this bigger than it needs to be." I laughed, a bitter sound. Bigger than it needs to be? My husband, my best friend, and my mother hiding things from me. Yeah, I must be crazy. Before he could respond, my phone buzzed. It was a message from Natalie. "Hey, can we talk? I think there's been a misunderstanding." A misunderstanding. They really thought they could brush this under the rug. Mitchell was watching, sensing the shift in my mood. "Natalie wants to talk," I guess it's time for a group therapy session, huh? His face paled. Casey, don't do this. Ignoring him, I walked past, heading back to the living room. Donna and Natalie looked up as I entered, sensing the storm approaching. Natalie, you wanted to talk. Let's clear this up right now. Natalie stood hesitant. Casey, we're just friends. You came in at the wrong time. Donna nodded, her eyes pleading. Darling, please, it's not what you think. I took a deep breath, gathering every ounce of strength. Enough. I'm not blind. I hear things. I see things. How long will you keep lying to my face? The silence that followed was heavy, filled with unspoken truths. The tight thread holding my life together was unraveling fast. One thing was clear. This wasn't just a misunderstanding. This was the beginning of a battle, and I wasn't backing down. The air in the living room was stifling. I felt everyone's eyes on me, searching for a crack in my resolve, but I stood firm. Natalie, I said, my voice cold and steady, if it's all innocent, why don't you explain the odd messages, the secret meetings? Natalie shifted uncomfortably, her eyes darting toward Mitchell and Donna. Casey, it's not a big deal. We've just been close lately, that's all. Close? I spat the word back at her. How close exactly? Her silence was damning. Mitchell stepped in, his tone a mix of annoyance and desperation. You're being paranoid. There's nothing going on. We're friends, that's it. I shook my head, anger bubbling over. Friends don't hide things. Friends don't act like this behind someone's back. Donna tried to soften the blow, reaching out to me. Honey, you're working so hard. We just wanted to make sure you had support, people to lean on. My mother's attempt at justification pushed me over the edge. Support? By excluding and lying to me? That's how you support me? Thus, I could see Mitchell's patience wearing thin. We didn't want to bother you with every little thing, Casey. You're always busy. Busy? Right, I said, nodding, letting the word hang in the air. So busy that I missed the signs, the little things that didn't add up. Mitchell's frustration spilled out. This isn't what you think it is. Why can't you just accept that we were trying to make things easier for you? Easier? I laughed bitterly. By making me feel like an outsider in my own life? Natalie, her voice shaky, tried to interject. Casey, please, we never meant to hurt you. Never meant to hurt me. Then why does it feel like you've stabbed me in the back? I could barely control the tremor in my voice. I gave my life to this family. I trusted you all. Donna's eyes filled with tears, but I had no sympathy left. All right, you've made your point, she said quietly, but let's not blow this out of proportion. Out of proportion? I let out a breath of pure disbelief. You've been hiding something huge from me, and you want to downplay it? Hannah's small voice drifted from the hallway. Mommy, what's going on? I turned to see my daughter, her innocent eyes wide with worry. My heart ached, but I forced a smile. Nothing, sweetie. Just grown-up talk. As Hannah shuffled back to her room, I looked at the three of them, a husband, a best friend, and a mother who had conspired to keep me in the dark. I'm done with this conversation, I declared, my voice firm. You think I'm overreacting? Fine, but I'm not done digging. With that, I left the room, the bitter taste of betrayal thick in my mouth. Whatever was going on, I was going to find out, and there would be a reckoning. The tension in the house thickened each day. I couldn't look at Mitchell, Natalie, or Donna without feeling a surge of anger. Hannah noticed my distraction but was too young to understand. Meanwhile, the odd behaviors were piling up, one by one, painting an increasingly sinister picture. It started with the phone calls. Whenever I walked into the room, Donna would end her conversation abruptly. Just catching up with an old friend, she'd say, smiling too brightly. Then there were the glances between Mitchell and Natalie. They exchanged looks that felt like silent agreements, words left unspoken, connected by something I wasn't part of. Late-night meetings, whispers in the kitchen, flipping their phones upside down, every small action screamed secrecy. One evening, I caught a glimpse of a flirtatious text on Mitchell's phone before he quickly locked the screen. My stomach turned, but I stayed calm. Who's that? I asked, keeping my voice light. Just a work thing, he replied, too quickly. My suspicion solidified. I needed more than snippets and gut feelings. I needed undeniable proof. I began paying closer attention. Mitchell's car parked at odd places, Donna's slips about where she'd been, and Natalie's vague explanations about her whereabouts, all clues leading to a single horrific conclusion. They were seeing each other behind my back, As I mentally connected the dots, I confronted them. I gathered Mitchell, Natalie, and Donna in the living room, the same place where my world had started unraveling. "We need to talk." "Seriously," I said, my voice leaving no room for argument. They exchanged nervous glances. Donna tried to play it cool. "What's this about, darling?" "No more lies," I demanded. "I know something's been going on. I want the truth." Mitchell looked to the floor, unable to meet my gaze. Natalie's face flushed red. Donna took a deep breath, finally breaking the silence. "All right, Casey, you want the truth? Here it is." A coldness swept over me as she continued. "We've been involved, all of us, in a relationship together. I felt like I'd been hit by a truck." "A relationship? You mean like an affair? All of you?" Donna nodded. "We didn't mean for it to happen this way, but yes, we've been involved. Polyamorous." Mitchell finally looked up, guilt and relief mingling in his eyes. "I'm sorry, Casey. We didn't know how to tell you. We didn't want to hurt you." Natalie added quickly, "We didn't choose this to hurt you, Casey. It just happened." I stared at them, the reality of their betrayal sinking in. "Hurt me? You think saying that in such a calm tone makes it any less painful?" The facade of my normal life shattered. I felt anger, betrayal, and shock battling within me, but beneath it all, a fierce determination rose. I looked each of them in the eye, a final resolve hardening in my voice. "This is not over. You will regret every bit of this." Their expressions twisted in a mix of fear and uncertainty. They should be scared. I turned and left, my mind racing with plans. My revenge was just beginning. Silence engulfed the room after I walked out. The raw mix of emotions inside me was hard to contain, but I knew I had to stay focused. After a while, I went to Hannah's room and quietly sat by her bed, watching her sleep, her breath even and calm, a soothing contrast to the storm I faced. The next morning, I called my sister Erin. "Can I come over? It's urgent," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Of course, Casey. What's going on?" she asked, concern coloring her tone. "It's complicated. I'll explain when I get there." I hung up, packed a small bag, and gently woke Hannah. "We're going on a little trip to Aunt Erin's, okay?" Hannah's eyes lit up. "Yay! Can we have pancakes for breakfast there?" I forced a smile. "Absolutely." Leaving Mitchell, Donna, and Natalie behind felt like shedding a skin. I drove with a clear purpose, needing the support Erin always provided. When I arrived at Erin's place, she greeted me with a warm hug, instantly knowing something was really wrong. "What happened?" she asked gently as we settled on her couch. "They've been involved. Mitchell, Natalie, and Mom. Behind my back," I managed to say, feeling the sting as fresh as when I discovered the truth. Erin's eyes widened in shock. "What? How could they? I can't believe this." Anger flashed across her face. "You don't deserve this, Casey. I need your help." "I have to protect Hannah and figure out my next steps," I said, my voice steadying with resolve. Erin nodded immediately. "You know I'm with you. Whatever you need." Our first move was to meet with a lawyer. I planned to pursue legal separation from Mitchell and ensure Hannah's custody arrangements protected her from the toxicity. Erin stayed with Hannah to keep things normal for her while I focused on dismantling the life that had become a lie. Later, when I went to pick up Hannah, I faced Mitchell. His eyes were filled with a mix of regret and helplessness. "Casey, can we talk, please?" I looked at him, my voice icy. "There's nothing left to talk about, Mitchell. I've contacted a lawyer. This is over." He looked down, defeated. "I never wanted to hurt you." "Well, you did, and now there are consequences," I replied, turning away to leave. Back at Erin's, my father Robert stopped by. Erin must have told him something, judging by the stern look on his face. "Casey, what's going on?" he asked. The kitchen felt smaller with their expressions bearing down on me. "Mitchell, Natalie, and Mom, they've been in some twisted relationship behind my back." "Donna, too?" Robert asked, his voice a mix of shock and disappointment. I knew she could be selfish, but she did it. "And now I'm going to make sure they realize just how big a mistake it was," I said firmly. Robert reached out, placing a supportive hand on my shoulder. "You will get through this, Casey. We will help you." Looking at Robert and Erin's determined faces, I felt a surge of strength. I wasn't alone in this. With every step, I grew more resolved to cut these toxic ties and protect Hannah from the fallout. Mitchell, Natalie, and Donna thought I was just hurt. They had no idea what was coming their way. Erin's house became our sanctuary. Hannah adjusted to the change with the resilience only a child could muster, soothed by the presence of her doting aunt and stern but loving grandfather. Meanwhile, I threw myself into the legal proceedings. My lawyer, Denise, was a tough woman who didn't mince words. "We need to file for custody and get a restraining order if necessary," Denise said during our first meeting. "Protecting Hannah should be our #1 priority." I nodded. "I can't let her be around them. Not after what they've done. Yes, every detail matters. Keep it professional, but don't hold back anything relevant." Mitchell's response to the legal notice didn't take long. He was furious, calling and texting relentlessly. When we finally met in mediation, his eyes bore holes into mine. "This is ridiculous, Casey. We can work this out without dragging Hannah into it," he argued. "No, Mitchell, you lost that chance the moment you betrayed me," I shot back. His betrayal felt like an abyss between us, impossible to bridge. Our argument escalated until Denise intervened. "Let's keep it civil. We're here for Hannah's best interests." Mitchell fumed but didn't argue further. His lawyer tugged at his sleeve, signaling it was time to dial it down. But I knew the simmering rage and desperation hiding behind his calm facade. The scandal spread quickly through our community. Neighbors whispered behind their hands. Social media buzzed with speculation. One day, dropping Hannah off at school, I overheard a couple of parents. "Did you hear about Casey's husband? Cheated on her with her best friend and her mother. Can you imagine?" I stiffened but walked on, head held high. This wasn't my shame to bear. But the public fallout hit its peak when Sam, Natalie's husband, stormed into the lawyer's office one day. His face was a mask of fury. "Casey, is it true? Natalie and Mitchell?" he demanded. "Yes," I said simply, meeting his gaze. "It's all true." Sam's face twisted with rage and hurt. "I knew something was off. I'm filing for divorce. She won't see a penny from me." His anger was a stark reflection of mine, and I felt a grim satisfaction knowing Natalie would face consequences beyond what I could enact. As the weeks went by, our strategy paid off. The court granted me full custody of Hannah, and Mitchell was ordered to pay alimony and child support. Publicly, the scandal wreaked havoc on his reputation. Donna found herself the target of disdain from her social circles. I never thought she'd go that low. I heard someone say at the grocery store, it was a small satisfaction, but satisfying nonetheless. Natalie, on the other hand, was dealing with Sam's impending divorce suit, a messy, ugly affair. Her once shimmering life was disintegrating. Through it all, Aaron and Robert stayed by my side, helping me rebuild. Their steadfast support was my lifeline. As the dust began to settle, Mitchell approached me one last time. His face was drawn, his eyes hollow. "Casey, is there any way we can start over?" I looked at him, the man who had once been my world, now alien to me. "No, Mitchell, we're done. You need to live with the choices you made. Hannah and I are moving on." Turning away, I felt a surge of relief. I had faced betrayal and found my strength. The road ahead wasn't clear, but at least it was mine to walk, free from deceit and betrayal. Life had settled into a new rhythm at Aaron's house. Hannah was adjusting well, and I finally felt a sense of control returning. But I wasn't done. The time had come for my revenge. Late one evening, after putting Hannah to bed, I sat down with Aaron. "It's time. I need to expose them," I said, my voice resolute. Aaron leaned in, her eyes full of determination. "What's your plan?" I pulled out my laptop and showed her the secret recordings I'd managed to collect over the past few weeks. Mitchell's confessions, Natalie's guilt-ridden ramblings, and Donna's shocking admissions. "These need to go public. People need to see who they really are," I explained. Aaron nodded. "Let's do it. They deserve everything coming their way." Together, we uploaded the videos to a hidden social media account and shared the links anonymously with several community groups and local news outlets. It didn't take long for the videos to go viral. The fallout was immediate and brutal. Comments poured in, expressing disdain and disbelief. The once respected Mitchell, Natalie, and Donna were now subjects of vicious gossip and public shaming. I received a text from Mitchell late that night. "Casey, you need to stop this. It's ruining us." I ignored it. There was no room for mercy. A few days later, I ran into Donna at the grocery store. She looked haggard, a shell of the woman she once was. "Casey, I can't go anywhere without people staring at me. How could you do this?" I met her eyes without flinching. "You did this to yourself, Mom. Actions have consequences." Natalie's life was unraveling too. Sam's divorce suit was the talk of the town. I heard through mutual friends that she'd been forced to leave her job. One evening, she called me, her voice trembling. "Casey, please, I'm begging you, stop this. I've lost everything." "Good," I replied coldly. "Now you know how it feels." Mitchell, desperate, showed up at Aaron's doorstep. Aaron stood firm, blocking his way. "You're not welcome here, Mitchell. Leave." He pleaded, "Please, Casey, I was wrong. I'll do anything to fix this." I stepped forward, my face a mask of resolve. "Fix it? There's no fixing this. You did this. Now live with it." With Mitchell gone and my revenge complete, I felt a strange sense of closure. Aaron and Robert's unwavering support had given me the strength to reclaim my life. It had been a long, painful journey, but I had survived and emerged stronger. Through the chaos, Hannah remained my beacon. One evening, as we sat together watching her favorite show, she turned to me and said, "Mommy, are we happy now?" I smiled, genuinely this time. "Yes, sweetie, we're happy." In the weeks that followed, Mitchell's life fell apart. He lost his job, became a pariah in the community, and was left to brood in his isolation. Donna and Natalie were similarly ostracized, struggling to rebuild their shattered reputations. As for me, I found peace in the simple joys, morning pancakes with Hannah, quiet evenings with Aaron and Robert, and the calm certainty that I had done the right thing. The web of deceit that once strangled my life was gone. Looking ahead, I saw a future filled with hope and new beginnings. Mitchell, Natalie, and Donna had tried to break me, but all they did was make me stronger. Standing in the warm sunlight, holding Hannah's hand, I knew that we had finally found our way out of the darkness, and there was no going back. Months passed, and a sense of normalcy slowly returned. Aaron's house had become a home for Hannah and me. The chaos created by Mitchell, Natalie, and Donna's betrayal was starting to feel like a distant nightmare. One sunny Saturday morning, Aaron and I were watching Hannah play in the backyard when the doorbell rang. It was Mitchell. He looked like a ghost of his former self, pale, tired, and aged beyond his years. "Can we talk, please?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Aaron stayed inside, ready to intervene if necessary. I stepped out onto the porch, folding my arms. "What do you want, Mitchell?" He struggled for words, desperation clear in his eyes. "I lost everything, Casey. My job, my friends, my life. I know I deserve it, but I need to see Hannah. Please." "She's doing fine without you. Better, in fact," I replied, not ready to soften. "Casey," he pleaded, "I know I can't fix what I did, but she's my daughter, too." "I don't want to miss her growing up," I sighed, feeling a conflict within. "You should have thought of that before you betrayed us." He nodded, a broken man. "I know, and I'll spend the rest of my life making it up to both of you if you'll let me." "Go home, Mitchell," I said warily. "I'll think about it." Back inside, Aaron looked at me, concern etched on her face. "You okay?" "Yeah," I said, exhaling slowly. "Just dealing with the wreckage." My father, Robert, came by often, offering the kind of quiet support that spoke volumes. "You're doing great, Casey. Better than I ever expected." "Thanks, Dad," I said, appreciating his steady presence. His wisdom anchored me, reminding me of the simple truths that kept me grounded. Donna's attempts to mend our severed bond were less frequent but equally poignant. One afternoon she called. "Casey, I miss you. I'm so sorry for everything." "The damage is done, Mom," I answered with a sad finality. "It's going to take more than an apology to fix this." Over time, the sharp edges of betrayal dulled, replaced by a new focus, Hannah's future. We settled into a comfortable routine, life's small joys reminding me what mattered most. I threw myself into my work, finding new goals and achievements to pursue. One evening, as I tucked Hannah into bed, she looked up at me with bright eyes filled with trust. "Will Daddy ever come home?" I brushed a strand of hair from her face. "Maybe someday, sweetie, but remember, you're surrounded by people who love you. That's what matters." In the following months, Mitchell tried to rebuild his shattered life. The floor of rock bottom taught him humility he'd never known. Natalie and Donna, too, faced their own lonely paths, ostracized by friends and community. I received updates through the grapevine but kept my distance. Their struggles were theirs to bear, consequences of their choices. I was busy with something far more important, creating a safe, loving environment for Hannah. One day, walking hand in hand with Hannah through a park, I felt a sense of peace. "Mommy, look at the ducks," she shouted excitedly. I smiled, squeezing her tiny hand. They're beautiful, aren't they? For the first time in a long while, the future looked bright. I had faced the nightmare, fought my battles, and emerged stronger. The chains of betrayal had been broken, replaced by new hopes and dreams. Standing there, watching Hannah laugh and play, I knew we were going to be all right. Our story wasn't just about revenge, it was about rediscovering life, finding strength in the ruins, and building a future free from the shadows of deceit.